Welcome friends to another r/AmITheJerk video. If you would be so kind as to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below, you'd never be a jerk in our eyes. That said, our first story of the day is by Independent Cover 118. Am I the jerk for requesting a DNA test? My wife and I are divorcing. We have 3 sons. Our youngest Clayton is 8, and I have serious doubts that he's my biological son. My wife had issues getting pregnant, and we opted to use a surrogate with our DNA. I don't even think Clayton is my wife's biological son either. I truly believe there was a mix-up. It doesn't make much difference to me. I love Clayton no matter what. I have a cosmic bond with him. I don't want to lie to him if he ever asks why so many people assume he's adopted. We joke that he's got our recessive genes, or if he starts to have doubts now. My wife is against the idea. She thinks it's rocking the boat and worries it'll change her relationship with him. For those wondering why we have doubts, our son looks nothing like anyone in the family. He's this blonde-haired, blue-eyed cutie with a cleft chin, perfect teeth, and round head and speaks his mind. Our other kids have dark brown hair, brown eyes, all needed braces, and have a more agreeable temperament. I think there's more information needed on this to really tell if OP is a jerk or not. I mean, to be fair, for you guys, if you had a lot of doubts that the kid might not be your own kid, would you want a DNA test yourself? Is OP a jerk for requesting one? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Our next story is by Lopsided Plastic 81. Am I the jerk for telling my sister that her husband would take her more seriously if she didn't dress like she did? I'm 26-year-old female. My sister Anna, 24-year-old female, married my friend Lance, 27-year-old male. He was the cool guy in our friend group, handsome, mysterious, smart, quiet. I don't know how he ended up with my sister. She's the total opposite. Loud, funny, outgoing. She's beautiful though, really beautiful. And when they got together, everyone said how good they looked. Anna seemed to be really in love with him all the time. She used to say how dreamy he was, how good he treated her, and how spoiled she felt. But Lance was always so stern and quiet. She would revolve around him at family gatherings, but he wouldn't engage that much with everyone but me and her. I was surprised when he asked her to marry him. My sister never took the wifey role too serious. She had a non-traditional wedding, and Lance went along with it. She made a bunch of rules that he agreed to, and then they moved to his house. Anna banned house utensils from the wedding gift list. She doesn't work, and didn't finish her studies, and they don't plan on having kids. My sister is pretty much only into her looks, and I didn't think Lance cared for that before. She's always on Snapchat or Instagram. I thought that after getting married, she would dress more appropriate, since she used to use crop tops, blouses, dresses, and shirts that showed her cleavage, short skirts or tight jeans, but she says that Lance likes her just fine. Last week was my dad's birthday and we had a party. My sister and Lance came, and she was wearing a pretty short floral dress. Nonetheless, most of the men were looking at her, including my dad's friends. Lance was as stoic as he always was, and my sister came to my mom and I, saying that she didn't know why he was so quiet since he's not like that. He is like that, what the freak. So I told her that if she didn't dress like that, he might take her more seriously. She got sad and sat quietly the rest of the night, and I didn't think much of that. But a few days ago, Lance texted me and said that he would appreciate it if I didn't comment on his wife's way of dressing again. Did I miss something? I think OP's the jerk because, in this situation, the thing OP thinks might be an issue, Lance and the wife have both already previously expressed they're okay with that. It just feels like inserting your opinion into an area where it really has no place being. And as hard as it is for OP to get over it, considering Lance called them up and said, more or less, that they didn't appreciate OP judging what the sister wore, OP should just try to get over it, understand, and accept that fact. And bonus points if they apologize. Our next story is by Typical Door 1269. Am I the jerk for telling my sister she's no better than her daughter? I, 45-year-old female, have a son, 10-year-old male, that loves the show My Little Pony. He has a few toys, some t-shirts, and posters from the show. We moved recently due to a new job and want to be closer to the family. My ex is not in the picture due to personal reasons. It's been hard raising my son as a single father, but I'm doing my best. I love my son and I'm raising him to be respectful to others. My sister, 48-year-old female, lives about 15 minutes away. We were really close growing up, but my sister never approved the idea of me raising my son alone. Son is attending the local school and loves his new friend group. My niece, 11-year-old female, attends the same school as son. I've been receiving calls from the school that my niece and her friends have been bullying my son and his friends. He likes to bring a pony toy with him to school to keep in his backpack, as it makes him happy. Son came home crying from school that niece broke the toy and threw it in the trash. I was furious and scheduled a meeting with the school and my sister. My sister thinks it's them goofing around and having fun. Counseling was suggested, and my sister thought the idea was ridiculous. When we were leaving, my sister pulls me aside and says, "Maybe you should have your son watch something more appropriate for boys. If he had a mother figure, there wouldn't be any issues." I look at her and say, "You aren't any better than niece." My sister was shocked at my response, and my parents reached out to have a stern talk with me about my son's interest in a girly show. They also suggested that I apologize to my sister for my comment. Am I the jerk for telling my sister she's no better than her daughter? I think OP is definitely not the jerk, and it was super low-hanging fruit for the sister to go and say that to OP. I don't care if this kid's walking around with toys of Satan himself. Another kid taking that toy, breaking it, and throwing it in the trash is not goofing around. That's straight up thievery and destruction of property. In my opinion, this sister can go kick rocks, and a 10-year-old can enjoy any cartoon they want. Our next story is by DaleWareThrow65. Am I the jerk for blowing up at my husband for lying to me about my sister and her baby leaving when he actually kicked her out? My sister, 20, got out of a terrible relationship and moved in with me and my husband and brought her 5-month-old son. She's dealing with a handful of issues from PPD to depression. I asked my husband if he'd be okay with her moving in, and he said absolutely. Not just this, but he was the one who picked her and brought her home. She stayed for 2 weeks and helped around the house. My husband started complaining about the baby crying, but a newborn is expected to cry, especially at night. He said it causes him stress, although I suggested he put on earbuds. He suddenly told me to forget it, so I did. Last week, I had to go out of town to attend a friend's funeral without my husband. He said he wanted to stay with my sister to make sure she's okay. I returned home the next day and didn't find her or the baby home. My husband said she contacted a friend in another town and wanted to move with them and left that morning. He handed me a letter he claimed was from her. This felt so odd, especially after reading the letter. I called her phone many times, but it turned out my husband found it and said she must have left it behind. I was worried as I had no means of contacting her to make sure she was okay. I contacted relatives, but they knew nothing. Yesterday, I got a call from an unknown number and it was her. We talked, and she told me that she didn't leave on her own, but my husband kicked her out after telling her she was no longer welcome, and she needed to take responsibility for her decisions. I was in shock, as she explained that she's not with a friend but at a shelter, and she has no money. I waited till he got home, and I blew up at him. He admitted he faked the letter and hid her phone, and argued that it's his house and he has a say. But he shouldn't have lied to me about my sister and causing her to be homeless. He said I was being unfair and wrong to lash out at him for wanting peace in his home. I went upstairs and refused to argue anymore. I told him I'm going to pick her up tomorrow, and he said he'd change the locks while I'm gone, and I won't be allowed to bring her home. I'm thinking of going to a hotel, but he kept saying that I'm letting my sister affect our lives by prioritizing her, but there's a baby involved. My nephew. I can't leave him homeless. I get that it's his house too, but I don't see why he's so against her staying. I'm not gonna lie, I've read a good few stories about people who went missing or disappeared or were found not alive, and the culprit did a lot of what OP was doing. Seriously, that whole, "Oh, they said they were moving in with a friend. Oh, they must have left their phone behind." This seriously read like OP's husband went and dispatched them for a second. I would be absolutely livid, and I would never be able to trust a person like that again. If they're capable of writing a fake letter, hiding their phone, kicking them out, and then telling you to your face that your sibling with their baby left to go move in with a friend, they could be hiding literally anything else. Our next story is by ShotADisc32. Am I the jerk telling my ex I want nothing to do with her and her child? For context, I, 17-year-old female, and my ex, also 17-year-old female, dated for a little over a year. She broke up with me after telling me she was cheating on me with her baby daddy, 19-year-old male, for the last 4 months of our relationship. Naturally, I was hurt, but I moved on and so did she. Recently, she called me asking if she could stay with me for a while because her baby daddy's been abusing substances and harming their child since she's had her son. I stay in a 2-bedroom apartment my brother and sister-in-law pay for while I'm finishing school, and I give them money for the utilities and so on. I asked her why she couldn't stay with her parents or any other relatives, and her response was, "They don't care for us like you do." And I asked her to elaborate, and she said, "I don't want to be a burden, and they're fed up with me. I have no place to go." And I frankly told her that's not my problem. I told her I'm sorry that she's went through all of this, but I don't feel comfortable having her living with me, expecting me to provide for her and her son. I told her it was messed up that her family reacted that way and treated her like that. She started crying, saying she wanted to work things out and she would do anything to have a roof over her head and a place where she could raise her son, and I told her I can't help her with that. I don't have the space, let alone the funds to pay for her, her son, myself, food, bills, etc. Especially the fact that she despises working. While we were together, she never had a job and thinks she didn't need one. I asked her would she consider getting a job to provide for her son, and she said she didn't know how. I told her I don't have the faculties for this right now, and understandably she was hurt. But I sent her $100 to at least be able to get a hotel room. Her sister says that I should have let her stay with me, and I'm standing my ground. I don't want to be guilt-tripped into this, but at the same time, I feel guilty. Am I the jerk? This is definitely a very tough situation to be on the other end of, but I don't think OP's a jerk for standing their ground. And honestly, the $100 you sent her was probably way more than you needed to do anyways. This next story is by NoBet4053. Am I the jerk for asking my wife to dress up, not down? My wife and I have been married for 6 years now. My wife, Grace, is beautiful. She's a very girly girl, liking things like pink, flowers, purses, and heels. Before the pandemic, Grace would always dress for a runway. She would have on makeup, heels, dresses, perfume, smooth skin, etc. During the pandemic though, my wife's job got moved to at home. She stopped her beauty routine and spent most of the days in long t-shirts, shorts, sweatpants, or her pajamas. I understood it since we weren't really going anywhere. Grace also stopped wearing makeup, doing her hair, and shaving. While this bothered me because I like having a beautiful wife, I figured it was till her job got moved back to the office. Now things are open again. My job's been moved to the office, but Grace told me she didn't want to return and opted to keep working from home. Her wardrobe has completely changed in the 2 years of the pandemic. She hardly wears her dresses, cute shirts, skirts, makeup, or anything like that before. It's men's t-shirts with sayings on them like "I'm grumpy," jeans, sweatpants, and tennis shoes. And she has completely stopped shaving and waxing. Now she'll dress up for a bit if we go out or have company, but that's it. Grace tells me it's too much work. So now for the part where I may be a jerk. Before the pandemic, we went on a date night. Since we haven't done it in a while, I suggested a night out at an expensive restaurant. I did pick this restaurant on purpose. Grace said no and suggested we order takeout. When I refused, she suggested a restaurant like IHOP or Chili's. Her excuse? She didn't feel like shaving her legs for one of her dresses and wanted to be comfortable. I snapped, saying, "It wouldn't hurt you to dress up for once." She accused me of only liking her looks. This isn't true. I told her I was just tired of feeling like I'm living with a homeless woman. Grace ended up locking herself in our bedroom. I know my words were harsh. I ordered a pizza and tried to apologize, but Grace wouldn't open the door. I slept on the couch. Right now, Grace is still giving me the cold shoulder, refusing to speak to me or be in the same room as me. I know I hurt her feelings with my words. However, I think this is depression or isolation from the pandemic, since before, Grace had no problem looking like a model. Am I the jerk? I'm personally of the opinion that everybody has a right to be attracted and enjoy whatever they want to. That said, I think the way OP is carrying themselves here definitely makes them the jerk. And I would agree with the wife that it seems like OP's really just expressing that they feel like their wife isn't as beautiful when they stop conforming to OP's hefty beauty standards. I mean, I know her appearance is the whole point of this story, but there really wasn't like any other quality mentioned besides just looks. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel, and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.